Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to work on something more with the Rose All Day bead design bead kit from SoftFlex wire. So we've already opened these packages, so I can't really show them to you what they look like without being opened. But we're using mainly beads from the bead mix and the strand, which they had made by Jesse James Beads. Now see, I have the case with remaining things in it. So, but let's turn down and we'll get to work on our necklace. So now what we've got here is some beads that I've chosen for the necklace. I painted our vintage piece a little bit. And this beautiful big crushed shell and crystal bead, and one pearl for the top of it. This is going to be our pendant piece, and then these other beads will be for our necklace base, and then I'm going to braid up the very back. However, this is only half of the beads. I have the other half in another little tray because I want to get them all done one side first. So let's get going on the one side. As soon as I can get the wire out. The little clip is holding pretty good. There we go. So we'll just get about half of what we need out so that we don't have an excess amount hanging out here, and I haven't cut it because I'm not sure exactly where we're going to end at. So then we're going to have, now we're going to string it from middle to the end. So what I have chosen, let's dump these babies out, is this little guy to start with. And then, as you can see, I'm going to be using both silver and gold for my strand here. There, and what's the other one I want? I think get a pearl bead caps. Now I always like to put a bead cap on a glass pearl because, now this one's fine, but sometimes the coating comes off of the side where the hole is. Let's see if any of these are doing it. No, these all look great. That's good. But sometimes the coating will come off of the very ends where the hole is at because of the way, they coat them after they're made. See, this one has done so just a touch, but not enough that I would worry about it. So let's see. Now these are what I call conforming bead caps. I don't really think that's their true name, but I call them that because they're soft enough that when you push them onto the bead, they'll conform right to the bead. So that looks really much better. And so we'll put another pearl on now. This one. Now these don't have any set holes. See, there's little holes all through this little bead. So what you want to do is make sure your bead wire is good and straight when you go through one of the holes, so it'll go straight across. In that way it stays pretty centralized. Oop, don't lose our bead. And now I think this, the thing with these is because of the way they're made, There's no set hole from side to side, so just do your best in finding something that looks like it'll work good. And if that stays in the center, great. If it goes a little off, well, you can't really do much about it. Now I think this big one here. As you can see, like I said, there's both gold and silver intermixed here. I think that looks really cool. So let's see here, another pearl. This baby. And here we have the one side done. Isn't that pretty? So now what we need to do is decide, number one, how long we want to make it so that we can cut the wire and do the other side after we put our pendant angle on. But first thing we have to do is make the pendant angle. Giving it some thought and doing a little bit of measuring, I think that this length from here to here is a good length. So I'm just going to take and double this wire up and cut my wire off the spool, and then I will show you what we're going to do next. So let's just double this wire up. Okay, so then we'll cut her right here. And we will put our clip back onto our wire here so it's not unspooling everywhere, which it is already doing. And put this aside. Now I don't need any more of this, even though I'm going to braid, because that's going to be my braiding wire, as well as the other. So put that back in its bag. And we'll go on to our next step. Now, as I said, we're going to put the pendant on when we get it made, but I have chosen to just do a wire hook onto, I'm going to put this little decorative ring and a little crystal right here for the pendant to hang on. In order to do that, this is one of those with a hole in the, that runs through it like a bead. It's I think they call it a bead trap kind of thing. So we're going to put this through this hole, and then I've got one of the tiny little one of the three little, I guess it's a 3mm crystals. It's going to drop right down into the middle there. Then we got to carefully pull the wire back and then go through the hole. And now what I'm going to do is, when I get the pendant made, I'm going to take and make a loop right here for it to connect here. So I'll show you how to do that when we get to it. But I also have my other half of my beads here. So since I'm going to do it that way, we can string this other side up. So since I'm a very symmetrical person, we're going to go, the pattern's going to be identical to the other side. Okay, so now that we've got to that little disco ball, we want to make sure our wire is good and straight so that it'll go through the ball pretty straight. And that looks good. And now we've gotten back to our caged rows here, as you can see. And again, we have to try and keep this centered as possible. See, that's not. So maybe get it to go into here. Come on, baby. I know that crystal's in your way. There we go. So now we keep stringing the other beads up. And there we go with this side. So let's compare them and see that they are what? Yep, that's good. So now we will just put our little tray aside. And before we go any further with like the braiding, we need to get the pendant made and on here. We want to do that before we braid, just in case there's any problems with getting it on down here. If we need to take it apart, we don't want to have it already crimped. So here is the strands, and we will get started on the pendant. Let's bring the pendant pieces forward and put the necklace in the back so it's not getting in our way till we need it. And I've got some 20 gauge German style wire to make our pendant with. So what we'll need is about, I always give myself out whatever feels good to me at the time, which is about this much. Yeah, that should do it. So we'll clip that off. Oh, those are my heavy duty ones. I didn't need that big a one. That's all right. So now we have our wire. We want to get it as straight as possible. And then we're going to check to see if it needs to have anything clipped off the ends. Yeah, that one should have got one of those sharp edges. So let's clip that off. Same with this side. There we go. We don't need the wire, so we can put it away. And now what I want to do is I want to make a relatively big size loop on this side. It did come with a jump ring, but I took it off. So what I'm going to do is take my chain nose pliers, give it a bend pretty far down, 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Then I'm going to get my bail making pliers and grab right here. I'm going to use the second one rather than the first one because I want a slightly bigger loop. In fact, that might not even be as big as I want. Maybe we'll go up to the next size up. Which are these. So we'll put that on here, wrap it around, let it fall down, come in and around, and it should look like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pendant right onto here. Now this one's being a little stubborn because it's got that big piece right there. That's why I'm going to pull this apart just a hair's breadth. See how I pulled made a gap right there? And then we're going to bring that around. There she is. Then I'll take these pliers, hold right here where they come together, and then I'm going to wrap. And you can either, I always put 3 or 4 wraps in. 2 is enough, but I like the security of 3 or 4. So I'm going to put this one last wrap in here. Then we're going to trim right here at the back, being careful not to get the other wire. Then we will tuck in this tail. And there we have it hooked onto the wire. So now that that's on, we want to put our other beads onto our pendant. So we'll just take this big guy, slide him down, and then we're going to put this little pearl on that one. As you can see, I probably have a lot more wire than I need, because all I need is enough to make a loop and then pull it through right here. Just like I did down here, we're going to make a loop up here to go through that. So let's get started making that. And since this is facing this direction, we want this loop to go this way. So we're going to bend it to the back. We'll take our plier. Again, we want a relatively good size loop, so we'll use this bigger size. Bring her around, drop this down, bring it around the rest of the way. When you pull it out, see that it made a loop. Yep, pretty good one. Now the next thing is we have to put this onto here. Now I left space around this little bead, so I'm pretty sure it should be able to go in here and hang off here. There we go. And now we will hold this right here at the base of the wires. Push her down because we obviously pulled her up to get it onto there. And now we just wrap up here. Oop, that's getting a little bit away, so I'll take my fingernail and push it up. And it bent it, so I'll have to straighten that when we're done here. Okay. I think this could go around a little bit more, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it there, so we'll just bring it just a touch more and then cut it off and tuck it in. Now, be very, very careful that you don't cut your loop while you're at it, because you're pretty close here. There we go. And now we have to tuck it in. Now be careful because your pearl will scrape, so you don't want to mar it up. So there we go. Let's make sure our ring is hanging straight. And there's our pendant on our necklace. Now we just need to get some extra wire for the braiding in the back, and we'll need to decide how we're going to clasp it. So I have decided, rather than just 3 of the same color pieces, need a couple crimps out here, I am going to use two other colors. So those 2 other colors I'm going to use are gold and silver. Gold and silver. Actually, this gold is heavy duty, and I may not want to mix a heavy with 2 mediums. So let's see if I can get a different color of gold. I did not find a medium gold. However, I did find some medium champagne, which I think will make, between the 3, will make a really good combo. So let's get some of these cut to the length that we need. Actually, I'm going to drop a crimp tube in each one of these strands. And then we will get cutting the wire. So now when I do a braid, I try to cut the extra wires a little bit shorter than the base one, because that way I know which one is the base one for sure, and I won't accidentally cut that one when I go to make a final piece up here. So let's see. There's the champagne. See how that's a slightly different color, but very pretty. So we'll make it about 1/2 inch shorter. So that's going to be about, well, we have to put it inside, so we're going to make it about this length long. And let's cut the other 4 pieces about that length. Now this is not going to be enough, it looks like, but I do have another spool of champagne, so that's not a problem. Just about 1 inch too short. Too bad. Well, anyway, actually I'm going to pull that off the spool and put this spool aside, because we don't need to have just this little bit hanging on here. Put this in my recycle bin for SoftFlex, because I need to send them some of those. But we will cut our 2 silvers, and then I'll get the other roll of champagne out to finish this up. I was hoping that would be enough for both strands, but obviously not. Now we'll cut 1 more silver, and then we can put the silver up. There we go. And let's just do one of these sides, and then I'll find the silver. I mean the other champagne. So what you do is you take your extra 2 wires, just put the silver over there, and it's pretty simple. All you have to do is take your other wires, put them through your crimp tube along with the one that's your base one that's already in there. And if they'll go into this next bead, that's great. But I'm not sure they're both going to go. Oh, they did. Excellent. So now all you have to do is make sure they're down in their ways. Oh, I could have cut that shorter, because as you can see, they're now pretty much the exact same size. We don't want that. We want them to be in just a bit. Not that it makes much difference in this color, because we have 3 different colors and I know which one is the base color. If we were doing all the same color, for sure, I would definitely want to only have one. If only have one poking up further. So you put your Crimp in your magical crimpers and crimp down. When you have those all in there, then let's give them a tug test, see if they're going to stay. Feel pretty good. So we will put these back into this bead. It wants to not work quite. There we go. Then we will push it through this one as well and trim our extra 2 wires right here. Now, because this is one strand, we can push this all the way around now until it tightens up over onto that side. Then we just have to braid this, just like you would braid your hair, and put another crimp on and crimp it up tight. But right now I'm going to see about getting that other piece of wire out so that we can put the other side on as well. Okay, here's the other spool of champagne. So let's get that cut the same length of our silver here. And then the champagne can be put up. Now SoftFlex comes in a ton of different colors, so I just love them. I love the fact that you've got all these color choices and everything. So anyway, what we're going to do now is put this other one just the same way through the crimp tube down here and then into that lower bead. Push that all down so that it will not cause a problem. Go into there. Okay. So now that's where we want it to be at, because it's in that lower bead. Where they were. Looks like they're not anymore. But we want to make sure they stay down in that lower bead. So let's just push it, pull these down here till we get them so we can see that we're all tight here. And now we want to pull this back out so that it's not sticking down and out of the pattern. So there we go. And now we just need to crimp it right here. Oops, they just slid out again. Not good. Okay, let's see if we can get it back in again. Okay, I see all 3 colors down there. So let's push them all down into place. Get our crimp plier out and crimp this. bead right in the center and squish. Turn it, squish it again, turn again, squish again. And when it doesn't squish it all anymore, which it's not already, let's give them the tug test. They all seem to be pretty tight in there. That's good. There is a little gap right there, but that's all right because we do need a little space so that it doesn't get too tight. And now we just need to start braiding. And once we get to the top of the braid, then we'll put a crimp in, and then we'll cut off the 2 extra threads. So let's pick a side and just start braiding it up. So you braid these just like you would your hair, just one over the other over the other. So just up you go until you get it all braided to the top. So up, up, and up. I say just like you would your hair, just keep braiding it till you get to the top of your wires, or where you want to stop, whichever comes first. So we'll just measure. So we'll just measure it and see where it ends up being. That is almost 12 inches on this side, just barely shy of it. So we're going to end up with a 24-inch necklace. So let's get this side crimped, and then we will start braiding the other side. These are a magical crimper. If you've never used a magical crimper, these are pretty cool. They take a 2x2 crimp bead and make it into this little, tube, and make it into this little bead. It's got this little rounded spot inside here, and you put your bead right inside there and then cramp down, and it makes that pretty little thing there. So now that these are on, we're going to want to cut our extra wires off. And I don't cut it real close. I try to find a bead that I like, and then I'll put it up here, and then I'll put another crimp over so that it so the bead holds in between the crimp to make it look a little pretty. So let's get the other side going. And like I say, just like the other side, we're just going to braid it like we were braiding hair. So just decide which one's the middle and go from there. Okay, now that we've got the second side braided and crimped, we're going to now put on the cathedral bead over this top. This is the one I chose to get to put over the wires here. Actually, I think I'll cut it a little smaller so that it's only halfway in there, so that when the other one comes through, I can maybe put it into, we'll see how that works. So It looks like both of these do not want to go into this little bead here. So we may have to cut them off entirely, which you can do. Just cut them close to the crimp, and that's fine because this is going to hide your little bits anyway. So we're going to bend this down, bend this like this so that we can get really close to the crimp and cut those threads off, or the bead wire. Then we're going to bring in our bead again, a new crimp tube, and then we'll bring this around, go through our crimp tube, and come out the other side. Now, if you're going to hook a clasp on right now, you could put a jump ring right here, or you could just put your clasp right directly on here. I'm probably going to use a magnetic clasp, so maybe I'll get that out right now and we will do that prior to crimping that down. Okay, I've got out one of my mighty magnet clasps. We'll pull this back off of here. Well, I think we will. There we go. Put one side of my mighty magnet through, go through over here, and pull her all the way down. Now, you want to have a little movement, so don't get it too horribly tight. But, you know, that's pretty loose. As you can see, it's moving pretty good. So now we just do up this crimp, if the mighty magnet will let us, because it wants to grab. And that's the biggest problem with these little magnets, is clasps, is when you're trying to hook them down, because they just want to pull on you. Okay, that seems pretty tight, so let's cut this wire off right here. There's one side done. Now we just need to do the other side. Cut these wires down just a hair's breadth more. I am going to try and again to do both, get both in here. This time they went in really easily. So then we put our crimp tube on, and the other side of our mighty magnet. And actually these magnets are strong enough they'll even grab the wire. I've had it be hard to thread this before, because the magnet has grabbed the wire and pulled on it. It wants to hold it still. Well, 4 wires may be too much through this poor little bead. Let's see if we can get it to do it. The hole on this bead is obviously a lot bigger than the hole on the other side was, but that's good. Okay. Now that we have that in place, let's get our crimpers out and crimp this little baby. That little crimp right in the middle of that little spot. Come on, sweetheart, let go. Okay, now we trim this baby. Sorry if I'm going out of screen, trying to see what I'm doing here a little better. There we go. And we are now done. Now see how pretty that is with the 3 colors of wire? See if you can see that better. Anyway, and then with the other little bead in here to give a little extra oomph right there. So there's our finished necklace. Doesn't lay flat with that big bead in there, but that's all right. And let's turn up and I'll lift her up and show it to you some more. So anyway, here is the finished necklace. The braid up the top, the bead strand to there, and then our little pendant on there. So I hope you like this. This has been fun. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we've been using the SoftFlex company's design kit, Rose All Day. And we'll see you later. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.